Hi, I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of You Define Wellness, and welcome back for another edition of the Defining Wellness Confab. You know, if you've been watching this or following along, you know that we decided to put together 49 sessions with the health and wellness experts that I know to introduce you to them, to hear about their expertise and their passion, and give you an opportunity to ask them questions as well. And in this session, we are going to have a conversation with one of my favorite chiropractors, Dr. Carly Hudson. And Carly, thank you very much for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and for putting together the whole confab for everybody. I mean, the content's just been amazing so far.
You know, I'm blown away. And here I'm listening to 49 different sessions, and there are some who are like, oh, don't you want to just kind of, hide the video and go leave the room or something when someone's talking? No, I'm learning a lot, and that's a fascinating thing for me. But let's talk about you.
Okay.
So you are a chiropractor. You're a mom of the cutest little girl in the world. You and yeah, she is. And you're an entrepreneur in that you own your own practice, and you're also a podcast host. So where amongst that would you like to begin and tell us more about you?
Well, the two pieces that go together really well, I hope, is my business as a chiropractor as well as the podcast. So my chiropractic practice is Healing Ground Chiropractic, and I'm recently launching Healing Ground Movement. The first episode will drop on August 5th on that Monday. And the idea is that here in my office, I talk to my patients, teach my patients about owning their own healthcare choices. My goal is not to adjust you and have you come back several times a week, but rather to teach you about what's happening in your body, give you exercises so that you can change it and you become more in control of your own health. And I wanted a platform where I could share that with more people. And so Healing Ground Movement was born. It's about movement and healthcare with a growth mindset.
So let's talk about that podcast for a second. And congratulations to you. I know you're excited to have it launch. You probably have a couple of them in the can, or are you doing it live?
No, we have them in the can. So we've been recording since May. So we have about 6 or 7 ready to go. There will be audio and video to go along with it, depending on what platform you prefer. And then I will be teaching movement exercises such as I do for my patients in here. And I've also asked many of my guests to do some guest teaching for me. So I have Pilates instructors, gymnasts, Feldenkrais, PT, pelvic floor specialists, all ready to jump in and show what they know about movement and health.
And as you said, some of those modalities, I have a funny feeling I know who some of the practitioners are that you are bringing in, and I'm looking forward to it because they're quality people.
Yeah. There's some pretty fantastic Denver locals that I think are powerhouses in the healthcare industry.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that and hearing more about it. And hopefully I just bumped something and all of a sudden somebody disappeared. So one can't have anything to do with the other. Let's talk a little bit about chiropractic for a second. And I have a reason I'm going to get to in a minute. But tell me why chiropractic? Why did you choose that field?
So I stumbled my way into it a little bit. I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor, but I also knew from a really early age that I wasn't interested in going the traditional medical route, Western medicine.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea of medication taking care of symptoms without actually taking care of what was happening at the root of the problem. So I didn't know anything about chiropractic growing up. Of all of the alternative healthcare that I was exposed to, chiropractic wasn't one of them. But I became a massage therapist to help pay my way through college. And once I got my hands on the body, I saw what you could do to change symptoms, to change the way we feel about ourselves and our own skin just by helping get rid of physical pain. And then I met a chiropractor, and the way he talked about the chiropractic approach to diagnosing and teaching and empowering people to heal themselves within their body without medication or surgeries in most cases, it lit me up, and I was enrolled before I knew it.
So there's a lot of misconceptions about chiropractic care with people. I think it's becoming more mainstream because people are aware of what it's all about, but I think there's still a lot of misconceptions that are out there. They think it's just a rack 'em and crack 'em type of a thing. So, let's talk a little bit. What types of things can you do as a chiropractor for general well-being and overall health with your patients?
So the idea of chiropractic being rack 'em and crack 'em, there is the cracking sound. I mean, that's what chiropractic is known for,
Hmm.
just joints. And it releases this audible sound of, it's actually a gas bubble just popping in the fluid that's in our joints. And that's about as exciting as it gets.
Right.
But what I do, I'm an extremity specialist. So the things that I look at specifically are helping to create more natural movement between joints.
Hmm.
So I think something really easy to grasp is for anybody who's ever rolled their ankle. And I've rolled mine enough for everybody, but who hasn't done it? Oftentimes, the two joints that do the rocker motion of our ankle, when we roll them, just get a little askew. So you have that feeling of tightness and compression in your joint. Maybe it works its way out eventually, but maybe you have this feeling of, I rolled my ankle and it's just never been the same.
Hmm.
So your joint doesn't really know where it is in space. The muscles are splinting because it's a different range of motion, and a simple adjustment just gaps the joint a little bit and sends things back to the way they ought to move.
Hmm.
And it's really that sense throughout the whole body, that by doing just that little bit of realignment, we can take care of things like plantar fasciitis, tightness in the ankle, knee problems, which is usually the pinching and aching pain going up and down stairs, pinching in your hips, tendonitis, golf and tennis elbow is usually what people want to call it, pinching in our shoulders, not to mention the headaches and the backaches that chiropractic is known for.
Now, with your patients when they come in, are you able to work with them for somebody comes in, they think, okay, my back is kind of hurting, but you're able to diagnose that there may be other things going on,
Mhm.
referring them out to others or counseling with them yourself. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think it's really important. And that's part of why with the podcast, I am resourcing as many different healthcare
Yeah.
professionals as I can, that whole body wellness is not just about what's happening biomechanically. There's been a lot of patients that I've been seeing for joint pain, aching, oh, this back thing will just never quite go away, or knees, or what have you. And try as I might, I don't get them onto this wellness schedule where I like to see my patients about every 2 to 3 months.
Hmm.
They never quite get away from the pain. And then they quit the job they hated, or they start couples counseling, or they finally jump on that Whole30 bandwagon and change their food. And all of a sudden they have no need for me. And that's a big part of knowing what whole body healthcare looks like.
Hmm.
Our body shows symptoms that are coming from something that is not working in our life. And it could be the rolled ankle, or it could be this high stress position you find yourself in and you just need more support. So I love referring people to my network.
And thank you for sharing that. And here's the reason why I was getting where I'm going with it, and you answered everything perfectly. The focus of the Defining Wellness Confab is, and the reason why we brought it all together is because there are so many people that when they step away from traditional medical insurance, they don't know what to do or where to start. And many of the practitioners we have in the Udefine Wellness Network are like, oh, well, I can help them with anything. They can come to me and I can help guide them and point them the right direction. And my question to them is always, how do they know to go to you?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to extract and did with from you is that you are one of those people that it's a resource, so that if somebody decides that, this has not been working for me over here with the Western medicine and my medical insurance, and I'm not anti-Western medicine. Everybody needs to understand that there's a place for everything. So when you need to move away from that and you don't know where to start, going to a chiropractor, going to someone like Carly or Carly, okay, is a great place to go because you can do so much with them. It's not just, oh, I'm going to give you a back adjustment. You're looking at a whole lot of other things.
Yeah. And chiropractors receive as thorough of a medical education as a traditional MD is. Where we start to differ is chiropractors receive more hands-on biomechanical functional education. We have more training in movement and nutrition and things of that nature, whereas traditional MDs, of course, specializing in either surgical interventions or prescriptive interventions, and that's where their training goes. So when it comes to looking at what's going on, and I had a patient just recently who was having some sort of dizziness, some sort of wonky, not quite right in space. Well, that can come from the neck. It can come from your hormones. It can come from a functional neurological deficiency. And these are all different specialties. And chiropractors in general have been trained enough to know what's not our scope and what we can help with.
Yeah, a very highly regulated organization, and
Board exams.
Oh yeah, and the association, it's really a good field. I personally have used chiropractors for going back 22 years ago when you were still, a little pup. For my very first concussion, it was a chiropractor I went to, partially because I knew because I have a concussion, I needed to have an adjustment. But that was the person who I turned to say, I need you to coordinate my care because I wasn't getting what I wanted from the Western medicine world. Mm-hmm. And so coordinated with a neurologist and getting the MRI and reading it, and then the ongoing care. And then also when I had gestational diabetes, borderline, and I didn't want to take insulin.
Yeah.
And so it was my chiropractor who monitored my blood glucose level, agreed to do that with me. I asked him to do it. He's since retired. He was a great guy, but asked him if he would be my my guide in all that and work with my gynecologist if needed, or my OBGYN for what needed to be done. And he ended up putting me on a fantastic diet in addition to making sure my body was in alignment. So, I swear by the chiropractic field. It is not what a lot of people think it is. But let's talk about the fear of going to a chiropractor. Because there is there's people like me who says, don't touch my neck, but yet that's the part that needs it the most. So how do you work with someone who's fearful or is really hesitant about coming in to see you?
And it happens quite a bit still. I really want to start off letting them know that in this sense of care, it's their body and their choice. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do anything that makes them uncomfortable. I have a lot of patients who don't want their neck touched, that don't want that manual adjustment. And when I say manual adjustment, I mean using my hands to do a quick motion that's going to create that popping sound, usually somewhere throughout the body. There's a little device called an activator that clicks. I'm trying to see if mine is within grabbing distance. But it's a little clicky device is what all my patients call it, so that you can still get an adjustment without having that quick, sometimes startling manual push. So I talk to my patients, particularly the new ones, and we have a bit of a conversation about, have you been to a chiropractor before? If you have, what have your experiences been? So I'm not going to surprise you with anything that I do. And if you haven't, I always ask them, what is their impression? And maybe they don't like the sound of the pop, and I can explain what the pop is, and maybe it's not the bone breaking like they expected. That I could give them whiplash and sprain their neck and rip their head right off. And I say, you flatter me, but I'm not that strong. We talk about how much force is really going into the adjustment.
Right.
I really think it comes down to education and knowing that they're in charge of their care in my office.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. So let's go back to your podcast, because I know that our timer is going to go off here pretty soon, saying that we're going to be getting close to the end of our time together. So tell me again the name of the podcast so I can write it down.
It's Healing Ground Movement.
And how will people find it?
So it will be on Spotify. It will be on the Apple iTunes podcasting, as well as YouTube.
So pretty much where anybody might get their podcast from.
Yep, anywhere you'll get podcasts, that's where it will be. And we'll have healinggroundmovement.com. You can go online and we'll have them placed there as well.
So how frequently are you going to be doing the podcast?
We'll be letting one every other week. So the first and third week of the month. And it will be a podcast with educational information and interview, as well as the movement tidbit that we think best matches the content.
Okay, let's go in a completely different direction now. How do you do it all?
All of it.
You're you're a mom, you're a wife. The
Mhm.
toddler. I've had kids. Mine are teenagers, but I know what it's like with the little ones. You're
Mhm.
running a business. You're having to market your business as well because you're an entrepreneur. So you're out there. I know doing networking meetings.
Mhm.
You're sitting down and doing a podcast and managing all that and getting the guests for the. How do you do it all?
I have an amazing tribe. I don't think we can all do it ourselves, and I'd be lying to you if I said I did. Um,
Yeah.
my husband is absolutely an incredible partner. He pulls more than his own weight, a little bit of my weight, around the house and with our daughter Matilda. My parents and my brother and his wife are local here in Colorado, and they help take care of my daughter. And I have just a great videographer doing the podcast, helping me with the podcast, admin helping me with my scheduling, so that I got a great piece of business advice a little bit ago, just saying that anything that you're not good at in business, hire out.
Yes.
And I have followed that to a T and grown as steadily as I can. So I rely on the kindness of not strangers.
That's great. I love it. So tell everyone, or let's share, what have we not covered that you wanted to make sure that we covered?
Um, I think that I love the questions that you've asked. That it's just shown a really great scope, and what I want people to learn about chiropractic and about healthcare in general
Mhm,
is that it's not as black and white as traditional medical would have you believe. And again, I'm not against Western medicine. It saved my life as an infant,
mhm,
but my quality of life has improved tenfold through all of the alternative care providers. Um,
mhm.
so it's my opinion that if you run up against a black and white answer of this is the way it has to be, and it doesn't match your values and what you want for your quality of life, there is another answer out there for you if you're willing to look for it.
And that ties in so well with what we've been talking about so far in this defining wellness confab.
Love what
Awesome.
you're
Tell everyone where you work and where's your office?
My office is in South Denver off Colorado Boulevard and I-25. So just 1805 South Bel Air Street, if you're familiar with the area behind the Best Buy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really easy area to find, and uh, that's going to lead me into the next section. I just want to end by talking to you a little bit about Udefine Wellness because Carly is a provider in the Udefine Wellness Provider Network. And what we are is essentially a network, as I keep saying that word, of hundreds of health and wellness professionals of many, many, many modalities that have come together. And one of the differences, and it's huge with our company, is that we actually do a background check on all of our providers. We're looking at their criminal history, if any. We have a lot of speeders in our group, but that's about the extent of what we have going on. We look at their regulatory licenses. Are there any disciplinary actions against them? We look at their reputation as well. So when you're pulling going to our library of our catalog of health and wellness professionals, you know that they've gone through that background check. Of course, it's always buyer beware. You must always do your own due diligence, but you know that we have looked at them. It's not just been something where they paid a fee to get on our network. And then one of the great things about being in our network and having one is that we're able to put together products utilizing our providers, like an employee benefit plan for the workplace to give people the ability to access health and wellness services, like going to Dr. Carly here, an education catalog that has dozens and dozens of topics for the workplace, and some of them can be conducted worldwide. So if you're looking for an health and wellness education speaker, I've got them. And then we also have a program for individuals that is a discount card for health and wellness products and services. It launched during this wellness confab. Until August 1st, it's available at half price. It's a one-time fee, $49.50, and that's the half price fee. And you can use it with any member of your family. Loan it out to your neighbors if you want. It doesn't really matter, but you can. Whoever's the bearer of it can receive a discount on certain products and services that are in our provider directory. And you can find out more about this at You Define Wellness. And while you're there, go over and take a look at the Holistic Healing Workplace Crisis Support Team that we're putting together. This is something that we're doing as a nonprofit for the community. We have provided services for free. There's been zero compensation for any of this, where we can go into the workplace after a crisis and provide services in addition to the counselors and psychotherapists that they're taught to bring in. And it's a fantastic direction that we're going with this. Our providers are so enthusiastic about being of service in this. And if you're interested in helping support the formation of this, we do have a PayPal link there, paypal.me/YouDefineWellness, and we will graciously accept any contributions that you have. And last, here's how you contact Dr. Carly, her phone number and her website. Pause this screen if you're watching it on video, and make sure you jot it down and reach out to her, because she's a great practitioner for you to answer all your questions. So that being said, Carly, any last words?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for putting together the You Define Wellness Network. I think it's just an amazing opportunity that you offer to anyone who signs up and can take advantage of it.
Thank you. It has been the most enjoyable, rewarding 3.5 years of my life since we launched this company. And I'm so glad to meet people like you who were not in my world before that. And so definitely thank you. And for those watching live that have participated, thank you. If you have any questions, I'm sorry I did not give you a chance to put them in the chat box. But you can always reach out to Dr. Carly, and I know she can answer the questions for you. And to those watching on video, thank you for being with us as well. Check out all the other videos that we have. Follow us on YouTube. Just search for You Define Wellness, because we have a ton of content on there. We have a ton of content that we're going to be loading with the Defining Wellness confab. And thank you again for joining us.